to a little lunchtime vinyasa flow. So take a moment and just sort of settle yourself into a seated position that works for you. You can rest your palms down or your palms up. Take a nice deep breath, let go with an ah, and just let yourself settle. If you've spent your morning kind of deep inside your computer, this might be just an opportunity to let all that go and feel your body and get present again. If you've been doing yoga with me all morning, welcome again. A little more yoga for your life. So we're gonna sit up nice and tall, and then you're just gonna rotate one direction. Doesn't have to be a lot of rotation, just however much your spine feels like it's ready to come around. And then take some deep breaths there. I love the feeling of the breath when you do a twist. Like the diaphragm is slightly pulled because of its relationship to the ribs. And you can feel how like one side changes, one side's different than the other. One lung might be under a little bit different pressure, so you really have to kind of work to expand into all those places. All the little tiny alveoli in the lungs. I may not be pronouncing that right. And 2 more little breaths. Or big breaths, as the case may be. And then come out of that twist and just move your ribs. So you can do little washing machine moves, or you can do some little spinning things. I sometimes just do a front and back movement. Just kind of see where it lands you. And then pause for a moment, take a nice deep breath, just coming back home. Now before you do the other twist, what you may be able to do is switch which leg is in front. Now, if that is not reasonable because you have a knee issue or something along that line, then don't do that. And then you're gonna just rotate the other direction. And again, it might start out small, especially since we just turned the other direction. It might take a little second for the twist to come around all the way. So however much it goes is how much it goes. And being present for what is. And here's the thing, like, I don't know how your days are going, but like today definitely felt like it feels like a heavier day or a slower day for me. Maybe it's because of the rain or barometric pressure change or something. It just was a little harder to get up, a little harder to get moving. And so if you're having one of those kind of slow days, just being present for what that is, without necessarily having to change it. Sometimes it's okay to have those rhythms and to kind of go in. So you come out of your twist, and then you're going to let yourself move a little. All right. So we're going to do a little side bending. Now, I'm going to take one leg out straight, and I'm going to leave one leg bent. And then I'm going to turn a little towards that knee and side bend out. And then I'm going to move this post. So I'm going to turn it in and then open it. Because when I round this way and kind of give my back a little bit of a cat shape, I get a nice stretch through my latissimus dorsi muscles up my back. And then when I rotate it this way, I feel that nice stretch in the abdominal muscles. And the spine has a chance to change just a little bit. And you may find that one spot is really luscious, and you just want to stay in that one stretch. Or you can keep moving with me. Nice big breath, and then exhale and hug in. So come all the way up. Switch legs. Pause for a moment. Feel that impact. And then we'll do the opposite side when you're ready. And again, for me, sometimes it takes a second. Like I can come in a little bit, and I'm letting my spine adjust to the shape. The movement is really fairly subtle. But give yourself permission to really try like all the possible colors on the palette here. one more inhale. And then let yourself come out. Oh, give yourself a moment just to feel where that landed you, get a little extra movement going. Now, we're gonna come up to all fours, and you can do your hands like that, or you could grab a couple yoga blocks, and in doing so, hopefully, you can give yourself a chance to adjust for the wrist. Now, if you don't have yoga blocks, Tupperware or saucepans or 12 packs of pop or water, anything will work for a yoga block. What you got handy? And so you could put your elbows down like that if you're trying to take care of your wrist a little bit more today, and then come into those cat shapes. I find, for the most part, because carpeted surfaces for me are trickier, because when I put my hand where I like it on a hard surface, because there's squishiness, my heel of my hand goes down deeper and it puts more pressure on the top of my wrist. So for me, a little bit further out on a carpeted surface is generally better. So find the spot that is best for you, and then check in with your spine, doing a couple of movements here. And then for me, when I do this part, I like to sometimes really stretch in and do a little wiggle. And then when I do this part, I'm almost trying to flatten my low back, maybe even let the shoulder blades lift, or upper back rather, let the shoulder blades lift off a little bit. You can even imagine like that movement that tigers, when they move through the forest, you can see their little shoulder blades go up, up. You can imagine yourself doing that kind of movement. All right, let's bring one leg forward. So we're gonna turn this into a lunge. Now, if your lunges are wobbly, this is where the props come in handy. We're gonna push the hips forward until we feel that stretch across the front of the hip, and then you're gonna back your hips up. Inhale them forward, exhale, back them up. And we're just noticing the edges of both of these shapes before we get all the way in. So we're gonna come forward into the lunge, take yourself up. You can add a little twist to your lunge. You can reach back and grab your foot if you feel like it. Because this knee is on the floor, you can let that leg drop open if that feels better. I'm enjoying this kind of sensation of my back being in a crescent right now. One more big breath here. And then we're going to back the hips up again. And this time we're going to go more towards this hamstring stretch. So you might even pick your toes up, kind of feeling that out. It might be best to have the knee slightly bent. It might be better to angle yourself more towards the inside or more towards the outside so that you get the amount of stretch that feels appropriate. Just breathing in and out. Allowing yourself to move a little if it feels appropriate, or just hold it. One more big breath. All right, so we're gonna swing that leg around. Give it a little shake. And then we're gonna take a little spinal balance here, reaching out through that leg, taking the opposite arm off the floor. Giving that a good long reach. See if you can kind of feel like you're hugging the sides of your waist in a little bit, like you just put on a corset or a tight pair of pants. Reach, and then lower that down. Right there at the end of one side is my favorite spot. Just feels really interesting. All right, let's do the other side. So you bring the other leg forward, and again, we're gonna be kind of in motion here. So I'm gonna take my lunge forward and back. And I'm surfing the edge, forward and back. Feeling for where's the spot that's gonna hit me just right. And then once you find that lunge that feels good, and one side might be more sensitive than the other, there might be people picking up trash in your neighborhood, which might make for good audio. Not. Ignore the trash in the background. Stay with the video. Take one more breath. And then we're going to ease the hips back. And see about that hamstring stretch. So again, exploring a little bit. Should it go more inside? Should it go more outside? Toes up or down. Settling back or moving. So we're gonna take that leg back, give it a little shake, and then that one is gonna turn into our spinal balance. So hugging in through the sides of the waist, reaching out. Oh. Nice big stretch. And then bring it all down. Pause for a moment. Now we're gonna go into downward dog. So finding your dog. I like my hands fairly close together so that I get shoulder distance apart arms. And then the first thing I always like to do when I come into dog is to kind of move the shoulder blades and the arms around a little bit. And then hug the upper arms towards your head just to create some structure there, let the neck grow long. And then give yourself a little walk in your dog. If your hamstrings are really tight, it might help to keep your knees really bent. Oh, if you can press down into the heels, do that. Oh. And then we're going to take one leg up. So I'm going to start with my right leg. Take a nice big breath. Reach that leg up. Maybe hook it over your back. We're going to step it forward. Now, I go out to the side and then bring my foot in because that's what allows me to get the movement forward. Some people can step really close right down the center. If you're more like me, you can try that swing out method. If you can step right down the middle and you don't run into body parts, then you can try it that way. What really matters is that once we get in the pose, that we are in the pose, not how we got there. So as long as we're, being conscious of our movements. So I've done a warrior one shape here. So my torso is aiming forward, my knees tracking forward, maybe over the ankle, maybe a little less. And I'm pressing this back foot into the ground. Allow the hip to go with the back foot. Don't try to square your hip forward, just let it go. But do turn the ribs forward. Some people can square the hip, but most of us can't. Okay, so then we're gonna do this movement with the arms. So we're gonna go up, go back, go forward to release tension from the shoulders. One more time, back, forward. Now, wrapping the arms behind your back, you're gonna grab one wrist or lace your fingers together, and then we're gonna fold forward. Now for a moment, we're gonna leave this knee bent. Let the head hang. Some people can pick their arms up off their back. I've got tighter shoulders than that, so I just bring my shoulder blades towards each other. Press the feet into the ground, spread out your toes, and keep stretching the floor as you hang out here. We're gonna do 2 more breaths. Now we're gonna let go with the arms and straighten out this leg, and then bend it, and then straighten it out, and then bend it. And then one more time, straighten it out, and I'm gonna bring my back foot all the way around so that I get a little more squared into this hamstring stretch. And then that way I can ease my pelvis a little more evenly. 2 more breaths. Press the feet into the floor. Spread out those toes and put them back down. And then we're gonna bend the knee and step ourselves back to down dog. Now, start with dog and feel where it landed you. You can stay, oh gosh, that leg feels so good. You can stay with dog or come forward into a plank. You can lower down out of the full plank or bring your knees to the ground. Hug those elbows in tight, lower down halfway or to the floor. Come into cobra or upward facing dog. And then push yourself back up. Use that arm strength and then take it back into down dog. Opposite leg. Nice big breath, reach, sink into your heel, maybe hook that thing over. Oh, that feels good. And then you're gonna step yourself forward and get your legs into place for warrior one. And then once you're up, and you've corrected for wardrobe malfunctions, we'll bring those elbows back, push forward, bring it up, take it back, push forward, bring it up, take it back, push it forward. All right, so we're gonna wrap the arm around. I grabbed lat wrist last time, I'm gonna grab this wrist this time, and then take a nice big breath, and keeping the knee bent for now. We're gonna let ourselves come into humble warrior, bowing warrior. Spread out your toes. Press the feet into the floor, try to stretch the floor apart. Rinse out any tension from your neck. Oh, that feels amazing. Maybe the shoulder blades come together, maybe the arms come off the back. Ooh, one more breath. Release the arms, rinse them out, and then again, we're gonna go for this little extra juicy hamstring action. So we're gonna stretch that guy out and bring it forward. Ooh. Just surfing in and out. Feel the whole palette of stretch, the whole range of color. Come back, okay? So then we're gonna go first, as soon as I feel that hamstring stretch, I'm gonna stop there, bring my back foot around, bring the pelvis around. Now I may have to adjust again, and then breathe. Spread out the toes, put them back down, breathe. For me, this back leg is a strong calf stretch. There's a little bit of hamstrings, but I'm tighter in the calves than the hamstrings. For you, this might be all about hamstrings. Last breath. Bend your knee, we're stepping back into down dog. And again, pause for a moment, just feel where you landed. Ooh, check into everything. And then add your vinyasa here, coming into your plank, lowering through. Cobra. Coming back to your dog. You want to skip that part, you just hold that dog, baby. All right, so we're going to take a nice big breath, lift that right leg up again. This time we're going to add some circles, so I'm going to hug it in and spin it open. Hug it in, spin it open. One more time, hug it in, spin it open, and then step it forward. And I'm going to come back to the warrior one shape to start with, and then we're going to change it up. So I'm going to come back to this shape. I'm going to take whatever arm, that leg that's forward, that arm is on top, the other arm's on the bottom. And I'm going to see if I can cup my hands. It could be that it goes like this, where you just hold this upper arm. So I'm going to press the feet into the ground, and we're going to lift and come back. Lift, see if you can get some length. Come back. This might turn into a full back bend. Now coming back. Good. Now we're going to let go with the leg. Let go with the arms. We're going to spin ourselves just to the diagonal. Bend this knee again and fold. So I'm folding diagonally, and then I'm going to go back and forth, bending maybe a little deeper into that leg, coming back. A little deeper, coming back. A little deeper, coming back. All right, we're going to turn this into a standing balance pose. So I'm going to come forward, but first I'm going to inch this back leg in, because I want to put this hand on the floor out in front of me. I can use a block, or I can use the floor if my hip socket allows for it. I'm going to open up like that, and then I'm going to bring my knee and my elbow together. Whoo! And if I don't fall, I'll stretch it back out. Together. Stretch it back out. One more time. Together. Stretch it out. And then put both hands down and step back into your downward dog. Again, feel. And then vinyasa or hold. So coming forward, choosing the vinyasa that works best. Oh, I'm a cobra lover. Because up dog is too much for my low back, really. And then we're going to do that other leg. So this, bend, hug it in, open. Hug it in, open, hug it in, open, stretch, and step it forward. And then that warrior one shape, just start with. So again, I'm going to do the opposite shape here. Take the elbows up. So this arm goes with that leg, other arm on the bottom. Bring it up. Breathe. It's hard for me to breathe and talk at the same time. One more. Let it go. And again, we're going to just point ourselves down the diagonal. I'm going to fold in here, lean into it, and lean back. Lean into it, lean back. Lean into it. Lean back. Oh, I like that one. One more time into it. And then we're gonna bring this back leg forward. We're gonna take that half moon balance. And again, depending on how sturdy this is, I might bring that in and stretch it out. Oh, bring it in. Stretch it out. Oh, bring it in. Woo. Stretch it out. Woo. And then if you don't fall, then you'll come back to down dog with control. Or you can do what I just did. All right, yogis, we're gonna do some kind of a hip stretch. I'm gonna do a pigeon. So you can throw your vinyasa in there if you like, and then come to this. But I'm gonna bring this leg forward, and then I'm gonna ease my hips back. Now, for me, this can be a spicy pose. To mitigate the spiciness, here I'm gonna turn around this way so you can see a little better. I can bend this leg out, and then when I fold in, it's a little more comfortable. I can add yoga blocks or pillows to make it a little more comfy, or a little more of a back bend. So you're just gonna feel that out, and you can also put something under this hip so that you're elevated. And throw pillows work great. If this is ridiculous, then your alternative is on your back. So that leg that was my front leg bent comes in like that, okay? And that is the way to switch this up and make it a little bit easier or a little bit more friendly, as the case may be. All right. Hopefully you're finding that kind of like, yeah, opportunity to relax deeply now that we've gotten things a little warmer in our hips and hamstrings. And knees. Some people may want to bend this back knee and reach back and grab that foot with one hand or both. I like to bend the knee, but not worry about grabbing the foot, just kind of bend the knee. It makes my hip flexor want to contract right here, kind of pulls my hip back. So by bending the knee a little bit and then seeing if I can relax more deeply through the front of the hip, that's an interesting little exploration there. So we're going to take 2 more breaths. Now we're going to lean into our bent leg, and we're going to bring the back leg around, or if you're seated, or if you're lying down rather, you can join us seated. So this leg is going to come on top, and you can make this really simple. Just put it on top and drop it open. So now I'm in a cross-legged sitting position. Or you can have the leg up, but across the shin. You can straighten that leg out, or you can bring this leg all the way around the outside. Now when I do that, my pelvis tilts, and that is not right. Lean back, because it doesn't let me twist my spine appropriately. So lean back, get tall, twist. For those of you that want to get that elbow to the outside of the knee, this is the easiest way to get started to do that and still maintain that length rather than hunch in to try to get your elbow there. Lean back, move, put your arm around the outside, and then come up. I don't worry about the arm because my arms are really short and I have never gotten the elbow across. I've managed to get the forearm or the wrist, but it's just not that important to me. I like the twist in the spine. I'm not that worried about the other thing. Now, we're going to stretch out this area right here in the neck where the lymph drains out of the face. So to do that, I'm going to keep my spine twisting the way I've got it, but I'm going to take my head the other way and just drop it back. So I'm stretching the skin right here where that sternocleidomastoid muscle, this kind of big ropey muscle you can see in your neck, it's right in front of that. And just that skin, it's not meant to be a deep stretch, it's just like you're pulling on the skin a little bit. And the lymph flows just under the superficial fascia, so it's not a deep area. Last breath. Ooh. And then bring your head back to neutral. Bring your spine around, and we're gonna work that out a little bit. And sometimes for me, this whole thing feels like it releases. It feels like my collarbone, or sometimes my first and second rib get really sticky, and sometimes that, letting the head fall back, will actually release those too. Guess what time it is? That's right, it's time for the other side. You thought I was gonna say boat pose, didn't you? We'll end there. Oh, my avocado has joined me. All right, so we're gonna take ourselves to the opposite side of our swan pigeon, yoga torture pose, whichever way you want to call it. Ooh. And there might be, again, kind of an occasion to wiggle your way into it. Start out a little bit lighter. Deepen it over time as things feel like they let go and open up. Oh. You might be doing this pigeon on your back, which would also be fine. Sometimes I love a good twist while I'm holding. Oh, that's feeling really good right now. The side is a little tighter than the other side was. So I'm just feeling a little more feedback, a little more little brighter colors on my palette. Not too spicy, not too deep. Oh, that feels good. And again, you might bend that back knee just for a bit, or you might hold on to that foot. About 3 more breaths. All right, so we're gonna lean out and bring the back leg around, and that's gonna put us into our twisty shape. So again, if you're really attached to getting your elbow around, lean back, lengthen, twist, and then get that elbow into place as you bring yourself up to tall, rather than hunching or rounding the spine to try to achieve that goal. Oh. And then once you feel like your twist is where you want it, then turn the head and drop it back. And we're gonna try to keep the shoulder moving toward the twist, going that way, while we let the head go that way. And I have a little bit of range of motion where I can rock back and forth on my sit bones, make a little less, a little more tall. So if you have those little ranges of motion, you can move the shoulder back and forth. Sometimes I find that is actually way more valuable or more impactful overall to the way my body feels when I'm done with my yoga practice than if I try to hold the pose really static. It's really about conscious movement rather than fidgety movement. So one more big breath here. And then we'll readjust the head. Ooh, come out of the twist. Oh, give it a little rinse. So we're almost at a point where we would want to end the class. We're gonna take a couple more moments. First, we're gonna do a boat pose. And you can pick your boat, man. The way I figure it, if you got a favorite boat pose, you should do your favorite. You can hold on and lift. You can let go. You can add paddling movements. You can make your boat rock. Just keep your heart lifted, chin down. Rather than throwing your head back, just keep your chin in a more neutral position so that you've got that little established, it's called Jalandhara Bandha when you do it with breath work. And in this case, it's like just a hint of that. So we're stabilizing the head and making the trapezius muscles on the back do a little bit of work to help stabilize our upper body. And then, maybe that pose takes itself out somewhere. And then find a pose that you're gonna relax in. So you could do a seated meditation for a few moments. You can lay on your back and do a little shavasana. Nice deep breath, nice big. Settle your body. You might need a couple little jiggles. I'm feeling like my palms up would be really lovely. And I'm also going to do a mudra. So there are a couple of different mudras that you can do to kind of see how they work for you. This is what they're supposed to do. So if you bring your thumb, if you bring your thumb and your index finger together, this is called the chin mudra or the yana mudra. And this mudra is meant to bring kind of a sense of focus or concentration, okay? So if my mind is scattered and I do this, I find it really helpful. I like to do this sometimes in asana poses because it helps me focus my attention a little bit more. The middle finger is the mudra for patience. So if I bring the patience, my fingers together, middle finger, thumb, and then let the other fingers kind of extend softly, this is supposed to help me with a sense of patience. So if I'm feeling impatient or restless or you know, like, this also works for me with kind of pet peevishness. My favorite yoga joke, the opposite of the impatience mudra, or the patience mudra, is the impatience mudra. You've probably seen that one. I'm not doing that at you, by the way. So this patience mudra really does, like, if I've trained myself that when I feel myself getting kind of grouchy, that if I do that instead, it helps calm me. And then the last mudra I'm going to show you today is if you take your ring finger and put it with your thumb. This is a mudra for healing. So maybe your mind needs some healing or your body needs some healing. And so you can assume this mudra and you put just the tips of the fingers together, so the nails might even cross each other. It's thought to help us kind of open ourselves to healing. Now, the thing is, these ideas are out there, but again, always with yoga, you want to put it to the test. Try it out on yourself. Don't believe everything I say. I'm an art student, a hippie barefoot tree hugger. I don't know if you should ever listen to somebody like me. But try it on your own and make up your own mind. I find them very interesting and very subtle, but powerful implies too much. It's a very subtle kind of centering and grounding that I find using mudras. So I'm a fan. So take a few more breaths right there, and then I'll let you go so you can go eat. Now you can stay as long as you want, but for now I'm going to say goodbye to you. Yogis, thank you so much for joining me through this little virtual yoga space that we're creating together. Namaste.